Are you looking to be more impactful, not just in your business, but in all that you do? Today we're talking about how you view service may be the game changer on this episode of Coffee with Tea. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Tea. Today, I am talking to Michael Marr. He is our Amazon go-to guy. He has started his business to help people get themselves up and running on Amazon. So before I go too far, let me bring in Mr. Michael Marr. And thank you for being here, Mr. Michael. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, Tanya. I appreciate it.
I came across your posting on LinkedIn. So you seem to be, like I said, the Amazon go-to person. And really, before we dive into the conversation, how is everything going with you and this COVID-19 and stuff like that?
Honestly, myself and my business, we're doing very, very well. I feel very blessed to be doing so well right now. As an entrepreneur, anyone that is an entrepreneur or a business owner knows that it's fraught with struggles. So to be in the midst of and so I've dealt with a lot of those over the past decade as an entrepreneur, but being in a situation where we're honestly flourishing, it's very, it's humbling, I guess, in a way, but I'm just very grateful. I know that God brings things across your path, and sometimes your cup is sweet, and so you drink it with grace, and sometimes your cup is bitter, and so you drink it in communion with Him. So I'm just trying to be graceful right now, and just be thankful for what I have. And I always, my whole team is remote. Everyone's based across the world, so working from home is something I regularly do. It's a little bit different having my wife and daughter at home as well. A little bit easier for my wife and I, as we both have things we have to do, to say, okay, you're watching the kid right now, right? Or you can help feed her. So that's definitely nice to have the two of us here to help. But honestly, business is going really well. Our clients are succeeding. Everyone's been impacted in some way, but we've been able to turn things around for pretty much every client, to get them to grow. Even some are still remaining profitable during this time, which is something we talk a lot about on Amazon. Is, yeah, your sales might be great, but are you actually profitable? Things are going really well. We're taking on new clients actively and prospecting for new clients, and the need for our services is only going to go up as people start to realize either they've ignored Amazon in the past, or e-commerce, or they're looking to make up sales, from a different channel, because retail was shut down for such a long time.
Right. Well, before we dive too much into our conversation, because we're going to talk about service, what is it that you really do for their clients or people who are looking for getting on Amazon? What is it that you provide?
We provide total channel management. So instead of you having to learn the skill sets as a brand, instead of you having to learn the skill set of utilizing the back end of Amazon, understanding the advertising platform, because it's all native to Amazon. There's some similarities to things like AdWords or other digital marketing platforms, but there are also things that are very specific to Amazon. So we just really manage that entire channel for you, instead of having to build out a team, or even really just hire someone who has the skill set and knowledge to manage Amazon and build out a team. That can be very, very expensive. So you really essentially outsource your Amazon side of your business to us, and we work with you, and you get it for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost you just for one person to come on and be like the Amazon director. So it's a win-win for brands, because they get experienced people, and it's at the fraction of a cost. And it's a win for us because we get a client, and we get to help them grow their brand on Amazon. Of course, growth is a big part of it, but profitability is huge too. So it really is just managing that channel for brands based on their goals.
Right. Well, also, before we also dive more into it, for those who are not familiar, what is e-commerce, for those who may have been living under a rock and don't know?
Well, for everyone living under a rock, e-commerce is selling and buying products online, and Amazon is there's a lot of different sites platforms that you can use to have your own e-commerce site: Shopify, Squarespace, WordPress. There's all these different platforms that you can host websites with or build websites with, and sell your products. My agency Cartology focuses on Amazon because there's a built-in audience there, and that's where we have experience, but there's a built-in audience there. So instead of having to spend money to drive people to your site to then try and trust you and purchase the product, we're working on a site where people already trust that they're going to be taken care of by Amazon. And so it alleviates some of the hurdles or the barriers that are there, and gets people to trust a little bit more, and also to purchase things quicker and more often.
Right. So when you got it before, I'm looking at your bio and I know other folks can't see it. So where did you get into this e-commerce side? I know a lot of you transition from different sites to sites. So where did your beginnings come from?
So I had a history I'm a musician, and I love electronic music, like synthesizers and drum machines and all that kind of stuff. And I had this history of buying products and then selling them on eBay. Sometimes I'd flip them because I'd want to get experience with them, or they needed a little bit of help. And so I'd fix them and then turn around and sell them for a little bit of a profit. So I had this built-in skill already of, how do you create a listing on eBay and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I hated the job that I was at. I got there, I was like, I've been working to reach this certain, pinnacle. And when I got there after a year, I was like, oh man, like I really hate this. It's not what I want to do at all. So I need to figure something out. And from there, I had a buddy who had started his e-commerce business on eBay and eventually branched out to Amazon. And he was just a reseller of product. And so I connected with him and said, what are you doing? I'm really legitimately want to get out of what I'm doing. And fortunately, he understood, because he was an accountant and he hated his job. And so he knew someone else who was selling, and they kind of teamed up initially. And, he learned that skill set, and I was very, fortunate to have him pass it on to me. And so, yeah, he helped kind of show me the ropes initially. And I took an initial investment and got started, based on what I knew, and having, his guidance as well. And I also at the same time started teaching drum lessons, because I was so desperate to get out of the job that I was at. I'm just like, I need anything to take off. So I was working a full-time job, teaching drum lessons 2 nights a week, and then running this e-commerce business. Fortunately, I didn't have a kid at the time. My wife didn't see me as much, but she actually helped me like ship packages and some other things in the beginning, which is interesting to look back on now to see, how far we've come.
Right.
But yeah, I got started, and after about a year, I had been able to actually bring in some income from that, and, felt like there was enough there to jump out and take the leap. So I left the full-time job that I was at. I still taught drum lessons for several years. I still enjoyed that. And it was fun. So I just kind of got at it. And as soon as I left that other job, I had enough time to invest in Amazon. And that's really when things take all the products I was selling and either launch them on Amazon. Nowadays, there's a lot of products. If you're a reseller, the products are already being sold on Amazon, and you just go and list against, other sellers on the platform, which just means the big difference between eBay and Amazon. eBay, you create your own listings and people have to go and look at those listings. Whereas Amazon, there's one centralized catalog. So instead of having 10 different listings for the same product, there's 10 different people on the same listing, and you pick from those buyers. Essentially, it made it more focused on the customer versus being focused on, the best listing that the seller had put together. So yeah, that's really where everything got started. Just looking at my skill sets and saying, what can I do to get out of the circumstances I'm in right now? Mm-hmm. That actually ended up helping me a lot when, after about 6 years, my product side of my business, ran really well. We grew every single year, and we had a really difficult year, and I had to do the same exact thing and just say, okay, what skill sets do I have, and how do I turn those into something that's gonna, work and continue to provide?
Right. Well, thank you for switching and helping other folks, because like I said, I shared with you, I was on eBay for a while. So do you recommend doing straddling the fence on the different channels, or focus on one?
we're big believers in omni-channel, so selling across multiple channels. A lot of brands that are digitally native will start on Amazon. We encourage them to branch out beyond Amazon for a couple of reasons. The biggest one, and this is something that is now playing out in amidst the coronavirus pandemic, because the retail channels, the brick and mortar stores, were shut down. A lot of times Amazon has a lot of control over what you're doing, and so they can shut down your channel or suspend you for some reason. And then if you are fighting against that, they're potentially holding your money. So it can be volatile. And if you don't have other streams of revenue coming in for your products, it can really hurt your business and sometimes choke out your business. So we highly recommend omni-channel. So that's typically Amazon, your own e-commerce store. And then we'll often work with brands if they need help in these areas to find connections to get into certain brick and mortar locations. We don't see Amazon as the end all be all. It's an important part of the retail game. We just see the future of retail shifting more towards the e-commerce sort of logistics side. My theory on where retail is going to go is more experience stores. So you're going in, you're trying something on, maybe getting something customized, measured, and then it gets shipped to your house from a local distribution center, or something like that. People are always going to want to have that human to human contact. They're always going to want to have some kind of experience there. Just don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But we definitely recommend going across multiple channels. Some channels are going to be better than others for brands. A beauty brand, I'd highly recommend being on Amazon. It's very competitive, but there's a big market there. For someone on eBay, it's very possible to sell stuff there. Probably doesn't have as big of a market as Amazon does, but it's worth building out incremental sales or building on additional revenue streams to help your business be stronger, so that in case if one does shut down, you've got a couple more.
Right. Well, I know you made the big shift from being a musician turned business owner, and I know we're really going to dive more into the service. So it must have took faith, and so I know I've read some of your posts. So how did that look at? Like, how did you know it was time to make that leap?
It's a great question. I, as a musician, wanted to really be a rock star when I was, in junior high and high school, and then in college. And I had this experience where I wanted to just give everything I could to this band that I was at the time. And I ended up dropping out of school so I could really focus on that. And so many people, family, et cetera, begged me not to do that. But I was just very stubborn, and I really I don't know if I would even just say stubborn, but I was just very determined, and I really wanted to give it 100%. And as soon as I dropped out of school, the band broke up. And even there was just some kind of issues with friends too. So we all kind of parted ways. That was a very interesting moment for me, because I had to evaluate and say, okay, what am I going to do? Is there something I can do as a musician and that I can develop there? And at the time there really wasn't for what I wanted to do. If I had ever, drums was really my main instrument. If I really wanted to get work doing that, I probably could have done it in the Cincinnati area, but it just wasn't as, there wasn't as much to be had there. And what I really wanted to do was to, develop more as a singer and songwriter. And so I just had to kind of bite the bullet and go back to school and say, I'm just going to finish this out. I was working at Starbucks at the time. That's where I had worked my way up to being in a place that I enjoyed for a while. And then just, once I got to a certain spot in the company, it just ended up being, the demands of the store as well as the demands of corporate, and they're all kind of, clashing, and those two things were hard to reconcile. So when did I decide? I mean, I basically just said, okay, I'm going to see what happens when I quit school. I quit school. It didn't work out. And so I said, okay, what's the next thing that I can do? And I think this is something that every person, especially every entrepreneur, goes through. Like, what do I need to do to start this thing? Or what do I need to do to accomplish something? There's no big giant step of not completion to I did it. And it's just this one big step. It's just a bunch of small steps. And that's what being an entrepreneur is about. It's about showing up every single day, regardless of how you feel, and continue to put in the work. Some days are going to be better than others, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. So it was just really taking a leap of faith to quit, thinking that, hoping that it would work, and it didn't work out. But it was honestly great because I made a decision that was not skewed by circumstances around me. It was based on where my heart was at and what I felt like was going to be the best. And I learned a lot about myself and about some of the people I was associating myself with, that maybe that it wasn't the best, area to be in. And so I kind of got back to work and
So I know
my way.
you talked about Cartology. Not, please forgive me if I'm messing it up.
Oh, you're good.
But you talk about service. So how did your current Cartology start up? I mean, you talked about, you felt like it was something that you needed to do. You give back. So how did that lead to this where you're at now?
Sure. I think just as a human, we're constantly searching for purpose in our life, and there's a difference between purpose and your mission and the actual work that you're doing. There's a couple of different, I know there's some kind of buzzwords around leadership and being purpose driven and having a mission statement and all this kind of stuff. But I think as I grew older and really developed my relationship with the Lord, it became more and more clear to me that I was meant to, one of the gifts that I had been given, or one of the things that I could do to help grow my relationship with God and build into his kingdom was to serve. That comes and I talk about this all the time with new business prospects, just saying, our mission statement for Cartology is to serve. And that just comes from a heart of service that God's given me. And so it naturally extends to the work that I do. And during the first iteration of my business, when it was all, products and selling stuff, I got kind of lost in that and had this idea of what my life and my career, my journey would be like that was similar to other people, like my buddy who helped me. And it just was not like that at all. And I had to give all that up and say, how, what am I going to do? What am I out here doing? I'd spent a lot of time developing my brand and developing other brands during that process. And so I really had to look at what is the vision of a company, but what is also the purpose? How does that play out in the day-to-day work too? And so when it came time for Cartology to be, I came to a place where I realized, okay, I was in the selling and in the product-based side. I had done a little bit of consulting work. And so I really just dove more into that side of things and found that there's a lot of work around Amazon. I enjoyed that side of the business, helping other people, and that there was a good amount of money to be made. And so I really started to build my business based on that. So I think it's, I over time, I've discovered more and more that service is something that's a part of my DNA. It's a part of my makeup. And I just tried to lean into that more. That could play out in, serving a client really well and giving them the best possible service. Or if, we had an issue with a client over the past 6 months and we thought maybe we were going to lose them, but we really just got down to business and said, okay, like what are some of the issues that we're seeing here? How can we turn this around? And we're able to turn it around and they're going to continue to stay with us. But it took us to really open ourselves up and say, okay, what is the best thing here? Let's get our pride out of the way and let's just figure out what we can do to better serve these people and turn it around. And it ended up being, a great experience, but it was only because we were willing to be honest with ourselves as a part of that service. So turning around and realizing, okay, I need to get out of the way. I need to show up and do the work. I think a lot of times people feel that because you say you have a relationship with God or that you're going to follow after him, that, okay, everything's going to be easy.
Right.
It's not. And if anything, the Bible says the exact opposite of that things are not going to be easy. They're going to be difficult.
Right.
Have faith because he's overcome all those things. And so as I grow and as I lean more into that, I realize that there's a harder service there. And so I just really try and be obedient to that. Service could be serving a client. It could be giving to organizations in the Cincinnati area that we know are really impacting the community positively. There's an organization called Back to Back that I love, that I'm very supportive of. Other organizations in Cincinnati too, some international organizations that we support. One of them I volunteer with, International Justice Mission, and we also support them financially too. So it was realizing, okay, there's really something impactful that you can do with your business, and it's not just from a work standpoint or an Amazon standpoint. It's a lot that can be done, and that's one of my drives too for being an entrepreneur and for continuing to grow and build this business that God's gifted me with. It's not so we can be the best organization in the world. It's so that we can have a really positive impact. And there's lots of ways to do that. But one of them is just being super impactful in your community. So that's Amazon community. That's internationally. That's in my backyard, Cincinnati, and in the backyards of the other people that work for us. So the more I lean into it, the more I see how ingrained that is in me. And I've just learned to embrace that.
Right. Well, that is great. So I know 20 minutes goes by so quick. So I want to get in. Where can people find more of your services and what you do?
So you can go to our website, thinkcartology.com. It talks a lot about who we are. You can see every one of the people that works with us. We're very open about the fact that we're remote. We don't have the traditional overheads that an agency, a traditional advertising or marketing agency might have. We're leaning into that future style of work. You can find out about case studies, things we've done with clients, and really ultimately the goal is for us to schedule a call with you if you're interested, for myself or someone on my team to get on the phone and just talk about what is it that you're experiencing with Amazon or not experiencing with Amazon that you want to experience, and is there a way that we can help you? If we can help you, we'll go further down that path. If we can't help you, we're going to direct you to the right place that people can help you. We don't take on all the clients that we can possibly get. We take on the amount of clients that we need, and that we know we can really be impactful for or impactful with. We don't want to overstress our client, or we don't want to stress our team members too much, because then that ends up hurting the service to our clients as well. So we really want to make sure that we're taking on the work that we can handle and that we can really do well with, and not overwork ourselels. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Michael Marr. I think my URL is like I'm Michael Marr. LinkedIn.com/I'm Michael Marr. You can find me on there. Those are really the LinkedIn is where I'm the most active. There will be new content coming, so a blog, a podcast, some other things that we're working on, that I'm working on getting out there that you can locate us. But really, our website and LinkedIn are the two biggest places, especially LinkedIn, to engage.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Michael, for being on here and sharing some information. Like I said, we're just tipping the iceberg, so I would love to have you come back again if you'd love to continue our conversation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I also want to remind everybody who's tuning in that feedback is always welcome. Email us if you have any guest or show ideas. Links will be posted in the comments for all of Michael's information that you might want to check out and look up. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And remember, take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And again, thank you for joining us on this episode of Coffee with Tea. It's been a pleasure. Share with us, what was one of your takeaways from today's show? Post your answers in the comments.